We naturally we want to talk about this election, crazy election. So I looked up some, could you have guessed that she would have lost?
No,
Anybody here guess?
I figured it was maybe a 5-10% chance.
That's what everybody said that. The last time we met was about 3 or 4 months ago.
April.
You were yelling at me because I kept telling you that Clinton was a very flawed candidate.
We disagree on her whether she's a good feminist.
Well, but I mean, what is she? So I don't know. That's what I was afraid of. That she didn't really stand for anything. That people had this notion, whether it was true or not, that she was like she came from a family of shysters. That was the impression we had. But she did have experience, and a lot of experience, and that's what was going for her, an awful lot of experience. And she also had people around her who had experience that you could seem to trust. The first thing she needed was a very large turnout. Remember they kept talking about that? This was I went to the New York Times, this was the lowest turnout in 20 years.
There's 100 million people that are registered voters that didn't vote.
Did you know that? This is the lowest turnout in 20 years. Now, of all the groups in the United States, which groups on face would you expect would come out for her entirely? In other words, which groups did Trump hit on the most?
Women and
Literally.
minorities,
Which minorities in particular?
Muslims and Mexicans.
Hispanics,
53% of white women voted for Trump.
Unbelievable.
Unforgivable. I think it's unforgivable.
30% of Latino voters voted for Trump. Let's deal with the women first. We've been talking about this for years. I'm one of the most radical feminists in the world. And I can't understand, we've talked about this so many times in class, why women have been taking this shit for thousands and thousands of I mean, they allow themselves to be manipulated and exploited and beat up in so many ways. Here it is again. How do you explain that?
I've been thinking about it a lot, and I think
Did you know that over 50% of women voted
yes,
for Trump? Yeah.
yes, and it's disgusting to me. And all I can think is that women were afraid of being aligned with the political other, that they wanted to be thought of as the socio-political norm, which is the white male, and they were afraid that if they threw their lot in with Hillary Clinton, that they would be grouped in with the other.
Tell me what you mean by other.
Well, in our
You're okay
system, whiteness is the norm, and it's a patriarchal system, so male rights are upheld more. And I think that
We still live in a patriarchal system?
I think so.
And whose fault is it, in part?
In part, it's women's fault.
Yes,
absolutely.
that's my
Absolutely, the
point.
rights,
That's my point.
the rights are institutionalized. They're not their rights, but the beliefs of this system are institutionalized. You know, so that's all I can think. I've been racking my brain, and that's all I can think.
I read an article by an immigrant Muslim woman. She's been here for a while, and she said the reason she didn't vote for Clinton was because of her character. So there's a viewpoint.
Did they say who she voted for?
She voted for Trump.
I think it's just mass ignorance.
Yeah, I think it's a far simpler explanation. I think it's that people's bigotry and racism outweighs their gender divide. It's that, because what were those numbers like for Hispanic women? You don't happen to have that stat handy, do you?
I just have
I'd be interested to
Hispanics
see.
in general, almost 30% voted for Trump. I was on last year I was on a jury. I'd always wanted to be on a jury, and I never was, and I always was called, but I never was, all I had to do was say that I was a political science professor, and they wouldn't take me. Immediately.
Yeah.
So for some strange reason, they took me this time. So there were 9 men and 3 women on the jury.
Who was the judge, if you recall?
It was in Baldwin County, and it was a guy as he told me afterwards, was graduated as a political science major from the University of South Alabama. But before I got there,
How'd you get in Baldwin County? You have a residence over there?
yeah, we have a residence over there.
Okay.
So, this was the case. This real scumbag was harassing this woman, the white guy and a white woman. And he was married, she wasn't. And she had it up to here, so she brought charges against him. But he already had gone to jail for 5 years for the same thing and was doing it again. It was so, this guy was so obsessed with this woman, remember he still was married, that he started plastering, and when she didn't respond to him, she started plastering, he started putting things on telephone poles and bathrooms all around town. It was Sims, calling her all kinds of names, and if you want to, she's a prostitute, he put her phone number, it was just horrible. He was so obsessed that they found these flyers on the roofs of people's houses. So the only thing they concluded was that the obsession got so far that he hired a helicopter and dropped these things from the sky. How do you get on flat roofs of buildings? Right? The evidence was overwhelming. It went on for 3 days. They brought in an FBI guy, and he did a study of cell phone towers. This guy lived in Sims, but he worked at that steel plant. It's an hour and a half north of here. He was making 500 phone calls a day to this woman. So the FBI guy testified that they did the cell phone type, that they didn't know it was making the calls, but they could see that the phone calls were starting at 8 in the morning in the city and the street that he lived on. And went to work all the way to somewhere near Birmingham, wherever this factory was located. And then using the cell phone towers, then it was coming from 5 to 6, coming home from where this factory was back to his house. Plus, they brought one of his co-workers and said this was his phone number. I mean, the evidence was overwhelming. So we go into the jury room, and the judge they elected me to be the captain of the jury. And he whispers to me, foreman, he whispers to me, I want this case over. I want this over. So we all do. So we go over the evidence and we make a vote. The 9 men, listen to this, voted for conviction. The 3 women said he was innocent. I couldn't believe. You see where I'm going with this? I couldn't believe it. So I wanted to try to find out. And the men are looking at each other and saying, what is this? So I wanted to try to find out the psychology of all of this. And again, most of the time, people do things, they don't really know why they're doing things. So that wasn't such an easy question to answer for them. So finally, at the end of the days of deliberation, 9 men are pulling their hair out. These women are not budging. The judge sends a note and says, what's going on? I said, it's a hung jury, and it's not going anywhere. He calls me, he says, I want to speak to the, what is it called, the foreman. He said, you know, we're loaded down with much more significant cases than this. I cannot allow this case to go on. So what do you want me to do? He said, yeah, just threaten them that this is going to go on for months if they want, but I'm not. This case is not going to. I want it resolved. So finally, and the women hate me now because I'm the spokesman for the men who can't figure out what's going on. all I could figure out was, and I don't know if it's true, that these three women blamed the girl because they were afraid that this girl was enticing him and that she would entice their husbands to fool around on them as well.
How did they get to that? Was there some evidence or something where she was leading them on, or is that just something?
None whatsoever. Every time she came on, she testified she was crying the whole time. Won't he leave me alone?
Did the women have strong religious convictions?
How could you ask that?
I guess you can't. I don't know. I was just wondering if you knew in deliberations.
Well,
Because maybe
that-
they were just judging her for being,
Well, of course they were.
a prostitute or for, just
Exactly.
being sexually free in whatever way.
Exactly. But not him.
Not him.
So the judge kept saying, look, I'm going to just keep you in there. You better do something. So finally I said, I told these women what the judge said. And I said, don't you have better things to do than this? I said, let's find a lesser charge against the guy. Would you be willing to vote to convict the
So
guy?
what was the initial charge?
Major, remember the guy had already spent 5 years in jail, so I don't remember what it was, but it was pretty serious. So the judge knocked it down to a lesser charge. They were willing to compromise, but they weren't too happy about it. And as I was leaving, the three women had grabbed a hold of the young female prosecutor. She was just out of law school. So she must have been an assistant district attorney or something like that. And they were haranguing her. How could you bring charges against this man? And it was her fault. So I felt the responsibility. I wanted to get out of it too, but I felt the responsibility, and I walked over and I said, I thought you did a wonderful job. She did do a wonderful job. She looked like she really had just gotten out of law school. Had you ever thought of doing something like that?
What, doing a DA?
Yeah.
They don't get paid much. People constantly leave here. They have a big turnaround here at the local
Yeah.
county DA.
Yeah. But it's good. Wouldn't it be good experience?
Yeah, but I do criminal offense work now too, so it really doesn't matter. Get paid more and you get the experience anyway.
Who are you? Who are some of the people you're defending?
I'm doing misdemeanors right now because I just recently started doing it. So whatever class A misdemeanors and down. And
But isn't that an amazing story? I couldn't believe it.
I also heard regarding, for example, when juries are picked, women are more likely to give an acquittal based on self-defense because they want a guy who feels like he can protect them. So maybe if you transfer that over to politics, maybe they kind of view Trump as someone who give the country some security.
Law and order.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of law and order, how is it strange to anybody else how often the verbiage "rule of law" has now popped up in everybody's speeches? Like you're hearing this rule of law talked about.
Law and order is what they talk about, sure.
Well, it's like the rule of law, and it's like the reference to the rule of law protecting people from abuse of power. It's usually always used in this implication that, there's this fear of Trump abusing power now that he's in a position where maybe he can. And I've heard it in like a couple, like Obama's congratulatory speech, and I think, I forget
I was
the other
disappointed
ones.
in Obama. I would have thought that he would have said, I don't want to talk to you in private, I want to talk to you in public with the cameras on. And I actually had a dream about this, that if I was the president, I would have said to him, you're the president and we respect you, we respect the wishes of the American people. But I just want to say that your behavior in this campaign has just been so disgraceful. And I urge you not to act this way now that you're the president of the United States.
They said that he advised Biden not to run, that Biden actually wanted to run, and that
Well, remember
Obama-
his son had died.
Right, but they said that it was Biden had wanted to run, and Obama said you should really let Hillary run this one. It's her turn. So-
If Biden had been the candidate, and this is all, of course.
Yeah.
If Biden had been the candidate and that woman from Massachusetts, what is her name, that firebrand?
Elizabeth Warren?
Yeah.
If she had been the vice president, she wouldn't have taken any of this crap. She really is something, you know?
Yeah,
She
she's-
wouldn't have taken, she
she's-
would have just screamed at him, you big fat bully, and that she would have been right.
She'd have been very outspoken about it.
But it's too late. So let me give you some more of these figures. So 30% of Latinos in general, men and women, voted for Trump. How is that possible? The last time we were here, we were talking about how youngsters, relatively youngsters, would support Clinton. Listen to this. 45% of voters 18 to 29, 45% of voters 18 to 29 voted for Trump. How do you explain that?
Reality TV?
So-
I don't know.
No. So his online supporters, it's strange. It's very strange. So Obama had in 2008, he had like YouTube and all these other supporters. I'm going to try to give it to you the best I can. I know you're not a fan of the internet, but
I don't, I'm not a fan. It's too complicated for me.
but so Obama like had this big online presence with young people, right? Well, Donald Trump had it too, but I think in a way the internet lends itself to extremists because they get, without it, like you're separated. If you're like a fascist in just the middle of Pennsylvania all alone, like what are you gonna do? And everybody around you is seemingly reasonable person. But when you get on the internet and you find some fascist website or chat forum or something like that, then you get all these other people who are fascists, and they're like, "Hey, man, you got really good ideas. I really like that whole like you getting rid of the ethnic minorities. Like that's good. Like you should keep coming up with." And they all congregate in these particular sites, and you can go and you can find them, and all of them think that each one is more brilliant than the next, and anyone who contradicts them and says like this is madness is immediately the worst human being on the planet, and we should kill them and get rid of them.
You witness these sites yourself?
Well, and it breaks through a little bit into the mainstream part of the internet, and you look and the stuff they're talking about is absolute madness. And you know Donald Trump's a big fan of conspiracy theories.
How do you know how old they are? Remember, this is 18
the
to
site's
29.
the site's demographics.
And not only that, just regular,
Sorry, we had cracked it because we were recording this conversation.
but the regular, just
If that's not
You don't have to close the door. There's no reason for the door to be closed. It's all right.
the regular,
He's the boss.
No.
yeah, I know before we had gotten talked to about that, but it's okay. But it's better to ask forgiveness than permission, right? So, but just the general usage of the internet, just the algorithms tend to feed you what you are already into. So just by using the internet, period, if you tend towards liking Trump, you're going to get fed more liking Trump information.
But with
It's just-
cable, you have that, and there's not an interactive process of people actively telling you that you're right and you're good and you're
But
right.
if you go to those
But
places,
if
you're
you-
going to reinforce this
Right,
belief.
and it's an interactive experience. Instead of just like Fox News is like the best example of you getting fed the opinions you want, but there's no talk back, there's no interaction, there's no real sense of community. Versus like on these sites, it's like, well, everybody in real life thinks that I'm a fascist and hates me, but when I go on the internet and say that we should overthrow the government, like they love it.
Everybody here's good, yeah.
And it's weird. It's strange to see all these young people. They think it's like funny and it's like a joke and like, it's like the craziness of reality TV brought to politics. And it's like, cool,
Oh, I see the point you're making.
cool. Like, let's take these extreme opinions and wow, nobody's ever thought of this before.
So are these people uneducated people?
I mean, they're young, but then if you look at the vote for Trump by the breakdown of education, I think that a college degree ends up supporting Clinton with a pretty big margin.
50% of whites with a college degree voted for
You
Trump.
said 50%?
Yeah.
50% of
I
whites
was
with a
fixing to
college
say
degree.
There goes that.
Yeah, but how does that compare to the general white population?
First of all, what percentage of the United States is white, do you think?
It's like, no, it's like 70.
It's 70%, yeah. So this is 50% of 70%.
Right, but I mean, what percentage of people that were white and didn't have a college degree voted for Donald Trump? Because
Like a much higher.
yeah, I think it's like high 80s or something. It's
Yeah, but
also-
doesn't that scare you that 50% of white
yeah,
college?
terrifies me absolutely. And by the way, I looked up the number for Hispanic women that voted for,
Yeah.
and it's only 15. So that means that men.
Means there were still 15%.
Well, no, but men were overwhelmingly responsible for the Hispanic vote being so high. So that's interesting too.
And 10% of blacks voted for Trump. So she didn't get the high turnout that she needed. And of the people who voted, the people we expected to vote for her didn't vote. And she still got more popular votes than
I was about to say, on the bright side, at least she got the popular vote, right?
Not by much,
Well,
though.
it's one silver lining there is.
Yeah.
Got that right.
She also got 10% less of the Hispanic vote than Obama did in 2012,
That's right.
which is staggering too.
So all of the groups that you thought would rebel against Trump because he went out of his way to really hurt them. Remember we always talk about the Stockholm Syndrome? There it is. But what I think really, when people are angry and scared, they do crazy things. They do self-destructive things. I mean, that's what this is, right? Self-destruction.
Why do you think that the Western democracy is this atmosphere of like fear and this like return to fascism
It has to do, that's a great question.
because it's not just, you know, you saw the Brexit and then they have the French, Marine Le Pen is very happy about
Yes.
Trump. She's like, we've got a good shot.
That's a great point. It goes back to his, what was his motto?
Make America great again.
So the question now becomes, what, the key here is again.
Yeah.
So what is it, what era is he referring to, you think?
I think the 50s.
When we beat the Nazis.
It's the 50s. It's not when we beat, it's when women and minorities played an overall role in American culture.
Yeah.
That's what's politics. That's what he's talking about. So it's clear what the future is going to be. 30 years from now, 70% of this country will not be white. And right now, the centers of power are shifting to blacks and Latinos, and especially women.